Hello, welcome to the Freedom from Anger podcast. I have another amazing guest. His name is William Branum. He's a former U.S. Navy SEAL with 26 years of service. He served in multiple SEAL teams. He taught SEAL sniper school and has been deployed around the globe. William is the founder of Naked Warrior Recovery. Since his discovery of CBD, William has reduced his anxiety, improved sleep, has less joint pain, and overall improved quality of life. Today, William is focused on sharing the recovery benefits he has experienced through premium quality CBD in hopes that other veterans and first responders can also experience their own recovery. Naked Warrior Recovery was created with a clear initiative to develop premium products to support physical, mental recovery through innovation and excellence. He also offers a military and first responder discount through the GovX ID. You can see all of his wonderful products at nw-recovery.com. Welcome, William.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. You know what? Because you threw that GovX ID thing out there, I'm going to throw out another discount code right here in the beginning. Why? And because why not? If you use the code CASH, C-A-S-H, it's actually a buddy of mine. It's his discount code that he gives out, but it's easy to remember, C-A-S-H. It's also 25% off. So anyone listening to the show can get 25% off on pretty much any order at Naked Warrior Recovery. So I appreciate you having me here.
Oh, thank you for being a guest. I've had a chance to look at your website, look at your products, and like I said, your mission statement's amazing. I'm always a fan of anybody that's stepping out there and trying to help the veterans and first responders, because we do need help from time to time.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So I guess how I got started in this, going down this road of CBD, is it was a modality that helped me after I transitioned out of the military. So I'd listened to a bunch of podcasts. I retired in 2018, right at a year ago of this recording. So I retired July 31st of 2018, 26 years, spent most of that time in the SEAL teams. And I'll tell you that I have some baggage from my time in the military, and it's not all from combat, 7 combat deployments. I'll go back to combat tomorrow if they would let me. But most of I have some trauma from combat, no big deal. It happens. Most of my trauma comes from not so awesome relationships and using my kids as weapons against me. That doesn't get talked about very much, especially in the world of men. We're really good at suppressing our emotions and not sharing or talking about what's driving us crazy. And we end up self-medicating, which is what I did. Did a lot of self-medicating with alcohol. And it was really to turn down this noise in my head. And I'd heard about this modality, this product, this molecule called CBD, but I was always afraid of, I grew up under Nancy Reagan's war on drugs. Just say, no, drugs are bad. Okay. This is your brain on drugs. This is exactly how I grew up, and still the thoughts that go through my head. And I knew that CBD came from the cannabis plant. And so I heard about it. I have never, to this day, never smoked pot or anything like that, mostly because I'm still scared of it, even though I know a lot about it now, or about the plant and the history and really where that all came from. And what I've since found is that the damage that we do to our body with alcohol is to our bodies and our brains. It's some of the worst damage that we can do to ourselves. The things that cannabis do to us, for thousands of years, it was used as medicine. And so it's starting to be used as medicine again. I'm not making any medical claims. I'm not a medical professional, but cannabis has been used for thousands of years as medicine. And the thing that made it illegal was a bout of racism. Racism is like this whole big thing that we have in the media. Like the media is like trying to shove it down our throat because fear sells and it divides a people. But the war on cannabis is 100% based in racism. There was a guy who had a paper mill, like the biggest paper manufacturer in the country. He was afraid that hemp and marijuana are basically the same plant. Hemp just has less delta-9 THC in the product. And so it's an industrial plant. It has been for thousands of years. Our first drafts of the Constitution were written on hemp paper. And so in the early 1900s, there was a businessman who had a paper mill. He was afraid that hemp was going to take the place of trees for paper. And so he created a narrative and ran ads in papers saying those Mexicans, they smoke that marijuana and it makes them crazy. And they're going to come up here and they're going to rape your wives and your daughters. And so pretty much immediately, everyone in Congress was like, oh my God, cannabis is bad, make it illegal. And so hemp did not become legal again federally until December 20th of 2018. So it was over 100 years, based 100% in racism, which is what made it illegal. And if you compare what alcohol does to the body and what marijuana does to the body, they don't compute. How many drunk drivers, how many people have died at the hands of drunk drivers from alcohol? And then how many have died from people smoking weed? How many people have been in bar fights and injured or killed in bar fights from alcohol? And what about when they use marijuana? The opposite thing happens when people use marijuana. Generally, they become more relaxed, more like, just let bygones be bygones, like just let the world be what it is. In alcohol, there are so many negative physical side effects, mental side effects, and then the way that you act when you're on alcohol. They don't compare. And if I were to compare them, I would say the thing that we were using for medicine for thousands of years is much better than the thing that we throw a bunch of sugar and yeast and ferment to take away reality. And so the natural plant, I think, is probably better, but I won't even talk about that for much longer. But the reason that I started using CBD is I heard about it on a podcast, and then I heard it about it on another podcast. And they originally were talking about it was helping with certain kinds of childhood epilepsy, which was pretty cool. And then they started talking about it helps with chronic inflammation. It helps with chronic pain. It helps with sleep, with stress, with anxiety. I had all of these issues. I still do today, but at a much smaller level. I mean, I'm 100% disabled through the Veteran Affairs, which really means if you add everything up, I'm 250% disabled with all the stuff that's wrong with me from 26 years of service. And CBD has been a modality that has helped with some of the traumas that I have, some of the negative thoughts that I have. Again, I was afraid to try it when it first came out. And actually, it wasn't even federally legal when it first came out. Or when I first retired from the military, it wasn't federally, so it didn't become federally legal for about 6 months later. But I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about it. But what I did know is that it was helping people. And so fast forward to 2019, I was in Virginia with a buddy of mine who was in my first SEAL platoon having lunch. And I said, hey, when I finish here, I'm going to head out and see if there's any CBD in your area, right in the Virginia Beach area. And he was like, oh, if you want CBD, I've got some at the house. He's like an Instagram influencer. A company sent him some products. And so we went back to his house. He gave me a bottle. And I'll say I tried it. I don't know that I felt anything impactful when I took it. And I took it for those 30 days. Maybe I slept a little better. Maybe I was a little less pissed off, but I didn't notice anything. And what I started to notice things is after I ran out of that bottle of CBD, things that weren't bothering me anymore started bothering me. And then they started bothering me a lot more. And so I was like, well, maybe it was CBD, maybe it was something else. So I found another brand and I tried it, and I had very similar positive reaction to my mental health, I guess, my mental awareness of anger and things like that. And also some pains in my body weren't quite as sharp as they previously were. There's still a dull pain there. It still hurts, still achy, but not as detrimental as the days that I normally would wake up. And so I use this sort of analogy that water boils at 212 degrees, and I was probably living my life at 210 degrees. So it didn't take much for me to hit that boiling point. One little thing could set me off. And over time, taking CBD, I went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 195 to 190, maybe 185. I got out of that red zone, like that boiling point, but it was very gradual effect of my fuse just getting longer. And as my fuse got longer, I had better quality of life. I had a better thought process. I had more positive thoughts than negative thoughts coming in. And so I was like, well, maybe the other thing about retiring from 26 years of service is I say that my transition from the military was the hardest military mission I've ever been on. And I would argue that I'm still on that mission today. I went from having a mission, I had a purpose and a team, and I had a pretty badass mission, a badass purpose, and a badass team while I was in the SEAL teams. And then it was like that Avengers movie where Thanos snaps his fingers and half the world's population goes away. That's the way I felt. So part of this healing and figuring out my new mission and purpose was I had to figure out what is my new mission, what is my new purpose, and who's going to be on my new team. And so I thought, maybe CBD is my new mission and purpose. And so I went to a business conference that guy who gave me that first bottle of CBD was speaking at. So I got to go as his VIP guest. I met a girl there that was in the CBD industry. She was putting CBD into kinesiology tape for like rock tape, like you see athletes that have like their shoulders or elbows or knees or backs sort of taped up. She was putting CBD into that as a pain reliever topically, but she couldn't run ads for it. She couldn't market it because social media considered it to be an illicit product. And so she got up on stage and she was asking like, how should I market this? How should I do these things? And all I heard was like CBD. I'm like, okay, I waited for this event to end. And then I followed her like a freaking weirdo stalker guy. And I was like, hey, you're the CBD girl, right? And she was like, yeah, weirdo. Can you back up a little bit? I'm like, sorry. And I told her that I was interested in CBD. And she was like, so do you want to do A to B, B to B, or B to C? And I was like, I don't know what any of those words mean, what those letters are, other than they're in the alphabet, but I want to do C, B, D. And she just laughed and she's like, okay, well, why don't you just start your own CBD company? And I said, well, I don't know how to do that. I want to work for you. And she was like, well, I'm not in a position to hire anyone right now. Like I wanted her to hire me. I wanted to work for her. I wanted her to train me up and like we could grow this thing together. And she said, well, why don't you just start your own CBD company? I was like, I don't know how to do that. And she leaned in and she said, you are a Navy SEAL. You can figure it out. So I kindly asked her for my man card back. And so she gave that back to me and I put that in my pocket and I haven't given that thing up again since then. But I went home, I Googled how to start a CBD company. I found out that the industry is incredibly dirty. It was brand new, really, at the time. FDA has gone out and done many spot checks. Other independent third parties have gone out and done many spot checks. And what they found is more than 70% of the products that are in the market, either they don't have CBD in them, they don't have the amount of CBD they say they have in them, they have high levels of heavy metals like mercury, arsenic, and lead, because hemp, which is where CBD comes from, is a bioaccumulator, which means it pulls all the good stuff out of the soil. It also pulls all the bad stuff out of the soil. So if you have not so great soil, you're going to get not so great product at the end of the day. So I went out and I went to find the highest quality producers in the market. And to this date, the suppliers that I go with are still the highest in the market. There's no one better. Even the biggest names that you see in the industry that you might see out there, they adopted about a year and a half ago, they started adopting the same quality controls that my supplier was already doing. So we are basically leading the way for quality in the industry. So when I talk about quality over quantity, if we have a batch and it doesn't meet our standards, we'll get rid of the entire batch. We'll throw it away. That's not great for profit margin, but it is what it is. And we stand beside what we say. What's in the product is actually in it. The other thing that we do is we test the oil when it comes out of the plant. All of our oil, not all of our products, but all of our oil is USDA certified organic. That's a whole big process on the farm side and everything else. And on the product side, the products that we have control over all of the ingredients that go in, then if we can make them USDA certified organic, then we are. But every product that we have, whether it's a topical, if it's a dropper that you put under your tongue, if it's a gummy, if it's a soft gel, a little pill, all of the oil is USDA certified organic. So you have the highest quality, period. You just have to figure out what's the right product for you if you want to go down that road. And then there's this other talk about THC, Delta-9 THC. Delta-9 THC, you will pop positive on a drug test. The end. So 85% of our products don't have any THC at all. So there's three main categories of CBD. There's a full spectrum, which it has all of the essential oils, all of which are called terpenes, and minor cannabinoids. Cannabinoids are CBD, THC, CBG, CBN, THCV, which is not Delta-9 THC. There's over 120 minor cannabinoids and terpenes, essential oils, in the hemp plant. And so a full spectrum product, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you right now. A full spectrum product has all of those, or almost all of those, minor cannabinoids and terpenes, to include a small amount of Delta-9 THC. Then you have the worst quality is a CBD isolate, where they extract the oil from the plant and then they extract the molecule of CBD out of that oil, and it turns out to be a white powder. And then they take that white powder and they add it back to an MCT oil, an olive oil, or a hemp oil, which is the lowest quality CBD product. So if you see a CBD product that says 9,000 milligrams of CBD or whatever, I would steer away from that because it's probably not a very good quality product. And then most of what we sell is a broad spectrum. So it still maintains most of the minor cannabinoids and terpenes in the product, but we remove that molecule delta 9 THC. And so we remove that. I still maintain a top secret clearance with the government. I still do government work. I was getting drug tested until very recently and had no issues. I take a tremendous amount of CBD because they don't test for CBD. They're testing for opioids. They're testing for delta 9 THC. They're testing for cocaine. They're testing for heroin. They're testing for those big things that are truly illegal substances. CBD is not an illegal substance, and so they're not testing for that. So I've never, as a matter of fact, I think my last drug test, I was drinking my CBD energy drink on the way to give my sample on the way there, so that I was nice and hydrated. So yeah, I take a tremendous amount of CBD. I've never had an issue with drug testing. I would not pass a drug test now because I've switched over to some different products that do have delta 9 THC, which I'm totally fine with. The thing that it does for me, they're gummies. What they help me do is just turn down the noise in my head. They like just slow me down because I can go fast, and I can go fast for a long time. And if I don't control this guy right here, I'm not going to sleep. And you mentioned that you didn't get much sleep last night because there was a storm and your dog was keeping you up, and I totally get it. But what keeps me up is this thing right here. Wait, what do I need to do? What needs to be worked on? What do we have to? I have to turn it off at night. If I don't, then it's not a very good day the next day.
Yeah, a lot of us, we have those minds that race, and coming from your background, you've got that extra gear that other people don't have. It's all about go, 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 go. A lot of confusion when it comes to CBD. I remember, I guess it was around 2018. It was kind of all the rage, and we had at work meetings about it, and they were like, don't do it, you're going to pop on a drug test, because a lot of that stuff was not regulated. You didn't know where it was coming from or what was actually
and
in it.
It's still not regulated today. Mm-hmm. The industry is just self-regulating. That's the difference.
Yeah, which is great, because I was at a alcohol and drug conference. That's probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And one of the primary speakers, he was a pharmacist. He is from the University of Georgia, and he taught people how to be pharmacists. So very, very intelligent guy. And he talked a lot about CBD. And he said that there's so many benefits. He said, but we, as the government and we as society, we have not put in the research and allowed it to come to light. Because like you said, that scary marijuana, the reefer madness. Right, yeah. If you ever want to laugh, watch Reefer Madness. I think you watch it on TV for free. But yeah, it's kind of silly at this point. I think eventually it'll be across the board decriminalized one of these days. But like you said, it's about votes, it's about power, money, you name it. But I'm all for anything that's natural, because you'd be hard pressed to find anybody walking among us today that have not been impacted by the opioid crisis, the fentanyl. I mean, I've lost friends of mine, I've lost clients that I had in the past because
fentanyl is scary, man.
Oh man,
I've seen several guys close. I didn't even know they were doing drugs and they die of fentanyl. I'm like, what the hell? How did that happen? So yeah. I mean that alone would scare the crap out of me to not use drugs over everything else.
Yeah, I tell the guys that I work with all the time, I said the whole experimenting with drugs days are gone. There's no experimenting, because you have no idea what you're putting into your body. Even if it comes in a bottle and it looks like a legal drug, it could be fake, because they've got these presses out there. They can stamp out those pills, and a lot of them look better than the original manufactured pills.
Right.
It's just scary. And the place where I work, unfortunately, when they leave us, we give them a box of Narcan. That was donated by the state. And it's just really sad that it's gotten to that point over just the past. I've been doing it for about a decade, and it's changed a lot. It's definitely scary. But if somebody can relieve some anxiety If somebody's struggling with trauma, PTSD, or whatever it is, if they can find a natural alternative, I'm all for it. Hey, give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? You get better.
Right. Yeah. Your brain slows down. I would argue that I don't use it during the day ever. I mean, I use CBD. I don't use THC during the day. Because I got stuff to do. I got a business to run. I got people to talk to. I got lives to change. I take it at night to slow the brain down, to get to sleep. Like, I'm able to replace alcohol with that. And I don't wake up the next morning hungover. I don't wake up the next morning. I wake up the next morning ready to go, because I'm guessing here the way that we put it together. So you have CBD and you have THC, and you mentioned Narcan. CBD is kind of like that for THC. So the way the two molecules work, here's the other thing about CBD, which made it like this sort of panacea. Like, people are like, oh, it cures everything. It doesn't cure anything. Actually, what it does is every mammal has what's called an endocannabinoid system. And this is new science. When I talk to doctors who have been out of med school for more than 10 years, they're like, we never heard about that in med school, but now it's starting to be taught. And these doctors, they go for continuing education. They're starting to learn about this. So the endocannabinoid system is this giant neuroreceptor system in the human body, or in the body of all mammals and fish, weirdly enough. And your body creates endogenous cannabinoids like cannabis, the same shape as the molecules of cannabis. Your body creates two. It creates anandamide, which is the feel-good molecule, which is actually very closely related to THC. It's a feel-good molecule. It helps with the up-regulation of serotonin and things like that. And another one called 2-AG. These two molecules, these two cannabinoid molecules, feed this endocannabinoid system. But sometimes you don't make enough, or your body is overstressed because of the environment that you're in, the mind state that you're in, whatever it is, you've poisoned your body, you've had chronic inflammation, things like that, and it's more than what your body can handle. So what CBD does, so what happens is, like, because this neuroreceptor system that's connected to every other system in your body, your endocrine system, your digestive system, your immune system, your respiratory system, your central nervous system, is connected to everything. And so what happens is, if something gets out of whack, it's going to pull everything else out of balance. And so what CBD does is, it is like I call it like a super multivitamin for your endocannabinoid system. And so what it does is, it helps bring everything back into balance so that your body can work the way that it's designed to. It actually starts healing itself the way that it was actually created. And so that's really a lot of the value of CBD. It also just happens to help out with stress and anxiety and with sleep. Not everyone. It helps with 98% of the population. There's 2% that actually become more hyperactive with CBD. But those people, they are sort of these unicorns out there in the world. But the other thing about CBD and THC, I would also be very careful about where you got THC from. It is legal in quite a few states, but still not legal federally. We're able to ship to all 50 states because of the way that the Farm Bill is written. So in order for the product to be considered legal federally, it has to be hemp derived, extracted from the hemp plant, not the marijuana plant. The difference between hemp and marijuana is it has 0.3% or less THC in the dried weight of the plant. So in the products that we sell, it's 0.3% or less THC in the weight of the product as well. Like in each gummy, we could probably go up to, I think, 12 milligrams on the weight of our current gummy, and which is, I think, a lot. I wouldn't use that product personally, but some people would, so that it meets the federal regulation for hemp derived THC products. So those are the two big things: the dried weight of the plant, and it has to be hemp derived, and it can only be this much in the product. So we meet everything across the board. But the gummies that we sell that have THC in them, they also have CBD. And so CBD and THC they're kind of antithesis to one another. THC, it goes in and it binds to those neuroreceptors in the brain, which gives you that high feeling. CBD actually works very similar to like Narcan, where it goes in and it decouples that THC molecule from those neuroreceptors in the brain to bring you back down, or to like mellow everything back out. So if you were to go out there and get some really strong, from what I understand about the marijuana industry, they've got some pretty crazy strains out there and different strengths and things like that. It's not like whenever we were kids or whatever. It's some real legit stuff out there. If you go out and you have a really trippy, bad high on marijuana, you can take a bunch of CBD and it'll help mellow that out and bring you back down into like a more regulated state. I have customers that live in Colorado where you can get anything that you want, CBD, THC, whatever. And they've used my products and they're like, this is a very different thing. Like it's a more pleasant experience all the way around. And so that's them talking. So I'm just rolling with it. They continue to buy from me. So fantastic. But again, if you have any sort of, if you work in an industry where you're drug tested, do not use any of the products that have THC. I can make recommendations for products that don't. As a matter of fact, I think everything that I sell that has THC, the labels are red. Like, oh, hey, pay attention. Everything else is good to go as far as drug testing goes.
Wow, that's definitely good to know. A lot of people still drug test. I know a lot of people have kind of gotten away from drug testing because they're needing workers, so they don't want to know too much. But if you're like me and you work for a government agency, you're going to be drug tested. Yeah, so with your experience with helping out veterans, can you think of just an example of somebody that came to you saying, hey, I'm drinking too much or I'm trying to self-medicate in some other way. Hey, what do you suggest? What would you say to somebody like that? Let's say somebody that drinks a 12-pack before they go to bed every night because they can't sleep. So if somebody came to you like that, what would you suggest?
A lot of I'm very much a tough love kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I might have a hard conversation with them and like, what are you doing? What are you doing to yourself? Like, really, what are you doing? And why are you doing that? And do you want to get better? I have a guy that reached out to me. I was on a podcast a couple of years ago, and then he was doing some media work for me, and he's in Australia. And then he just went dark. He went completely off the radar. And so it turns out he went into this very deep depression. His father died unexpectedly, or they were expecting it in a few years, and then he just died a couple years earlier than expected. It kind of pushed him off the deep end. It took him a long time to come back around. And he reached out to me. He's like, hey man, I just want to let you know I was here and this is where I was and what happened to me. And I'm back, I think. But he said something that was very eye-opening to me and it resonated with me. He was like, you know what, when I was in that state of depression, I was very comfortable being there. I was very comfortable being depressed. I did not want to get better. And so it wasn't until his uncle reached out to him and said, hey, you're getting married in like a month, you need to get your act together. And so that's very much the approach that I take. It's not right for everyone. And so I've had some pretty hardcore conversations with this gentleman. And I'm like, hey, first of all, do you want to get better? If you want to get better, then let's have a follow-on conversation. But at the end of the day, you have to control you have to control the things that are around you. I know that we all go through life. We all go through transitions. I've gone through many transitions, and they can be anything from like changing a job, getting divorced, getting married, having a kid, having a death in the family. It doesn't matter what it is. We all go through these sort of life transitions. And when we do, they're very hard because we feel oftentimes that we've lost control of the situation or we've lost some sort of sense of identity that we had. I was in the SEAL teams for 26 years. That was my identity. I left, or I didn't leave. They were like, all right, you've been here long enough. It's time to go, my friend. And I had to find a whole new way of life. I had to find a whole new identity. I had to do everything different. And so part of that was, what do I want my new mission to be? But I had to control the things that I could control. I had to control the people in my life. I had to control the food or substances that I put in my body. I had to control the things that I consumed, the media that I consumed, the things that I listened to, the people that I surrounded myself with. Those are the things that I had to do. And so those are also the things that I tell other people. Like, you have to control the things you can control. Like, life isn't fair. Everyone wants life to be fair. Everyone wants life to be easy. Life isn't fucking easy. Life isn't fair. You should be grateful for hardships in your life. About a year ago, I started practicing gratitude. And so every day I wake up, I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. 4 of those things are super easy. My family, my home, my health, the fact that I woke up this morning, whatever, my kids, the fact that I can have business. Like there's so many things that I can be grateful for, but one of those things has to be something that has been very painful. It has to be something that I have struggled with, because without those struggles, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And I don't mean, oftentimes I mean something that's mentally or emotionally challenging. And so when I work with people to help them kind of get out of this depressive state or change habits, change their behavior, one of the things that I tell them is, listen, if you want to change, if you want to change, do you want to change, or do you just want to be a drunk the rest of your life? If you want to be a drunk, then I can't have many more conversations with you, because I'm not going to let you drag me down. And oftentimes that wakes people up. Like, no, you can't be around me because you're fucked up. Go over there and fix yourself. Or if you want to work with me, then we're going to work together. And if you don't do what I ask you to do, then we can't have that. That's a hard conversation. And people don't like to be rejected. So a lot of times it is helpful. Other times you have to be a little more gentle, but control what you can control. Stop putting shit in your body. Okay, put less shit in your body, and less and less and less. But at the end of the day, you got to figure out where you want to go and what you want to do and who you want to be. One of my business coaches a few weeks ago, he said, if you want to change your behavior, you have to change your identity. So I'll just give you an example. I hate running. And I hate swimming. Almost every SEAL I know hates swimming, which is funny because we do so much in the ocean, and which is probably why we hate swimming. We're comfortable in the water, but we hate swimming. So I have a fundraising event coming up in August. I don't know when this episode is going to come out, but middle of August, we're swimming across the Hudson River. So we're actually swimming out to a barge in front of the Statue of Liberty, getting out, doing 100 push-ups and 22 pull-ups. Then we swim over to Ellis Island, do another 122. Then we swim across the channel to Lower Manhattan, right across from the 9/11 Memorial, get out, run to the 9/11 Memorial, get out, do another 122, 100 push-ups, 22 pull-ups. And then we go put flags on the 9/11 Memorial. And there's some other stuff that happens, but it's about a 3-mile swim. It is no joke. I've done it 2 of the last 4 years. And so this will be the 5th year and the 3rd year that I've done it. I have not swam since I swam it 2 years ago. I have to change the narrative in my mind. Who am I? I am a swimmer. I love swimming. I can't wait to get in the water and go swim again. I have to do that to myself. I have to change my identity. Like, I hate swimming was my old identity. My new identity is I love swimming. Let's go. I can't wait to get in the water, strapped on those fins, and spend the next 3 hours swimming and struggling and halfway drowning, because I'm not that great of a swimmer. So I have to change my identity. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm getting ready to do, I did it in April, I think, the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. So you start at the south rim, hike to the bottom, across, up to the north rim, turn around, back to the bottom, hike back across and out, all in a day. We did it in 25.5 hours, but there was 8.5 feet of snow on the north rim, so we didn't make it. So we're going to go do it again. It was top 5 hardest things I've ever done in my life. You need to have strong legs, strong lungs, strong everything, have your nutrition dialed, everything good to go when you do that event. The quickest way to do that is to run. So today I'm a runner. I love running. Let's run. Let's go do 5, 7, 12, 15 miles a day to get ready to go do that event in October. And that's another organization that I do work for called Man Made, where we're really helping men to become men again, helping men overcoming adversity in their life, helping men be pushed, heard, and appreciated, giving them the tools, helping them have better relationships with their family, things like that. So, but part of that is doing really hard things and pushing ourselves and not settling for the status quo.
Wow, you're a busy man.
I get around.
But yeah, you're entirely right. Just going back to some of the things you were talking about, it's a lot of the same things that I tell a lot of the guys that I work with. And you do have to have that tough love, I do believe. And like you said, you gotta have a little bit gentler of a touch. But I think, especially in the field of alcohol and drug treatment, is they tend to make things a little way more complicated than it has to be. I don't know if they're trying to make themselves sound smart. I'm all about keeping it simple. Like you said, just go unfuck yourself, and then we can talk.
First question is, do you want to get better?
Yeah.
If they don't want to get there, there's nothing you can do to make someone better if they don't want to get better.
Nope. You can drop them off at beaches of Malibu, fancy rehab, or they don't want to get better, you could drop off rehab 100 times, but they have to have that mentality. And you definitely hit the nail on the head with that. You have to change that identity, change that self-talk. Like you said, hey, today I'm a swimmer. Hey, today I'm a runner. I'm the same way. I do not like running. I've got a swimming pool that I never get in. I probably need to change my mentality to get in a little bit better shape, utilize the resources that I have. And yeah, you have to be able to make those changes. We like kind of a cliche, change your people, places, and things, the things that you have control of. And it could be small things. Like, for instance, I hardly ever watch the news because there's nothing good on the news.
A waste of time.
Yeah, it's just, if I want to get in a bad mood, then let me wake up in the morning and turn on the TV and see how many people died overnight. Senseless deaths, young kids. I mean, Nashville's a great city, but it's getting to be pretty rough. But it's just small things like that. I've had people that I've worked with that changed the music that they listen to, and it changed their mood and their outlook on life. It's those baby steps. If you remember the movie What About Bob? Baby steps. Just making those little changes. And I do believe another area that in the alcohol and drug field that we really suck at is nutrition. We don't give one thought about nutrition. You have people going to rehab, smoking a pack of cigarettes a day or 2 packs a day, and don't really pay much attention to what other things are we putting in our bodies.
Right.
And that has a lot to do with your mental health. We're finding out
there's a tremendous amount of research out there also about gut health, like the microbiome in your gut.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
They call it like your second brain. And I had a buddy of mine, he was shot like 27 times in Iraq, and he was like, dude, I've helped so many veterans just by like having them eat yogurt and stop eating crap that kills the microbiome and change their gut health completely. And they're like, wow, I'm not depressed anymore. Something simple like that. Like eat some sauerkraut or kimchi or whatever, things that promote good gut health. Actually, I've heard of different, like, this is kind of gross, but certain rodent models, and I've heard some people do it as well, where they took like a happy tribe of people who think this way and they do this thing and whatever, and you come in and you take their poop and you put it inside of you, and you get the same benefits that they've had generationally because of what they do. Or in rodent models, they would have like rodents that were addicted to drugs, and then other rodents that were not, and you took the microbiome from the rodents that were not addicted to drugs and put it into the rodents that were. It changes their brain chemistry completely, and they're no longer addicted to drugs. Weird, like very unconventional kind of stuff, but it's interesting. But it's just what you said, it's nutrition. Like, what do we put in our body? You're 100% in control of whatever you put in your body and what you put in your brain. So
yeah, because if you're eating a whole pizza by yourself, you're probably not going to feel very good afterwards, versus you eat a salad or something light and you're moving around and doing things.
Right.
And going back to the gut health thing, like you said, we're finding out so much about that now. And there's actually a nerve that goes to our brain down to our gut. It's called the vagus nerve. And what it helps do is regulate our emotions, things of that nature. So one way to activate it is, of course, good gut health. Another way to activate it is breathing. A lot of us,
because it goes through your diaphragm.
Yeah, so I think the research is there. A lot of people are kind of ignoring it. I see a lot of people going through detox and things of that nature, and I'm looking at the food that we're feeding them. I'm like, that's probably not going to help them. It's going to make things a little bit harder, but it's definitely a tough road when you're going through that detox. But yeah, I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm definitely going to have to look into a little bit more of the CBDs of your products.
Right on.
I could definitely use something to kind of slow my brain down a little bit. And my wife, she definitely suffers from anxiety. We've gotten some CBD products in the past, but I don't think she did it long enough to see any kind of results or anything, or it might have been just trash CBD.
Right.
I thought I did good research, but that was years ago. And just a real weird story about CBD is my little dog, little 15-pound dog, this little knot came up on her leg. So we take her to the vet, and they're like, well, this looks like nothing's real bad. We have to go in there. We'll have to do a biopsy, and it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'm like, well, I'm kind of strapped for cash right now. Let's kind of see what happens with it. So we get back to the house, and I start rubbing CBD oil on it. And I kid you not, within a week, it disappeared completely. Never came back.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was
Weird.
the CBD. So I don't know if that had something to do with it or whatever. But I was like,
You never know. It's weird. Like, I don't know all the pathways that it works on. I'll put it some on me, like whatever pains that I have sometimes, like instant relief, other times nothing. I'm like, it worked last time. I don't understand. But it works on different pathways, different pains, different receptors. So it definitely doesn't hurt. Again, it's been used as medicine for thousands of years. And yeah, I won't go without it. Like if I run out, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a little stressed out. But my own personal stash, because I don't ship out of my house or anything. But yeah, I think it's a great option for lots of people. I would definitely do my research before buying from anyone. Someone asked me what's the difference between your CBD and the CBD I can get in the gas station down the road. Well, what's the difference between like the sushi that you get in a sushi house and the sushi that you get in that same gas station down the road? Do you really want to roll the bones with gas station sushi? Why would you roll the bones with gas station CBD? It might be okay. You might not get food poisoning, or it might be full of a bunch of crap, or it might not have anything in it. So I just do your research. All of our products are independently third-party lab tested. All of the testing is on our website for every batch. Like I've had people reach out to me like, hey, what do you think about this brand? And I go and look at their website, and they might have one like lab result up, but it's not for anything that they carry. And so I'm like, I personally wouldn't, but you got to be you. So if you like that brand, go with it. If you want a trusted brand, I know a guy.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to get the word out there to all my first responder military folk. And yeah, I definitely want to give your product a try just out of just sheer curiosity. And
like I said, like my journey with it was like, I didn't notice anything until I stopped taking it. And then I was like, oh, maybe there was something to it. So it just improved my quality of life overall. And lots of other people I've had reach out and say, hey, like, I don't have the pains I used to have. I don't have the stresses. Awesome. Thank you.
Well, all right. Well, I know you've got a meeting to get to. I could talk to you for another hour if given the chance. But I think you put a lot of good information out there about CBD. I'll definitely put a link to your website in the description. I'll let you know when it's going to be posted. My goal is to have it before the end of the month because you've got some events coming up that might be interested in supporting and getting behind. I think what you're doing is great, and all I gotta say is just keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And one last thing. So I created a document to just give to people to help them kind of maybe help change the way that they think about things. And I call it 5 Navy SEAL secrets to success. And so you could go to the website, the number 5sealsecrets.com, SEAL secrets, 5sealsecrets.com. Just put your name and email and whatever, I think maybe phone number in there. And I'll email you a copy of this document. It's just a link to a Google Drive to a PDF. I had a buddy, when I first created it, I sent it to a buddy of mine. And I was like, really, I was just wanted him to kind of look it over and kind of give me some feedback. And he never gave me feedback. He was kind of struggling with some stuff with kind of personal life and business and stuff. And I was like, and I told him to like create a plan and do this other stuff and like to have this conversation with his boss. And then I was out in Denver, I don't know, a few months later, maybe 6 months later. And I was like, hey, Jim, how did that talk with your boss go? He's like, oh, I didn't tell you. He said, I downloaded your 5 SEAL secrets. It was so impactful that I printed it out. I laminated it. I put it up on my wall. And then I went into my boss the next day and I went in, and my friend Jim is not super assertive, very creative, but not super assertive. And he was running the product development line for a high-end apparel company. And he went into his boss's office and he was like, hey, man, hey, boss, I just want you to know that if you talk to us the way that you did the other day, I'm afraid that I will not be able to perform at the level that you need me to perform. And his boss was like, hold on. Number one, Why are you being honest? Why are you being assertive? And why are you saying that you're afraid? He was like, oh, it's my friend Williams, his 5 SEAL secrets, and I'm exposing my fears. I'm telling you that I'm afraid if you come across the way that you did the other day, we're not going to be able to perform at the level that you need us to perform. So let's have that conversation. And he was like, oh, can you share with me those 5 SEAL secrets so that maybe we can share those around the office and maybe have some sort of impact on the company? And so anyway, that was just a real quick story of, I think that there's a tremendous value. It's a talk that I give when I speak around the world. I've actually given the presentation there in Nashville earlier this year. Hopefully I'll be back later this year to give it again at another venue, but you guys can get it at 5sealsecrets.com and give me your feedback.
Oh, I definitely will. And next time you're in Nashville, don't be a stranger. I'm usually floating around here somewhere.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Out here.
All right. Well, that was Mr. Branum. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please visit his website, nw-recovery.com. Check out all of his great products. Use the promo code CASH, CASH, for 25% off all of your purchases. And don't forget to check out the 5 Secrets to Think Like a Navy SEAL. You can find that at 5, the number 5, sealsecrets.com. And if you want to figure out what naked means, then you have to check that out. But I'll give you a hint. It's an acronym. It stands for Never Quit, Accept Failure, Kill Mediocrity, Expose your fears, and do the work. All right. Well, if you have any behavioral health education needs, please check us out. www.freedomanger.com. If you have any ideas for topics for the podcast, just shoot me an email. All that information's on there. And until next time, as always, stay safe.